I'd say you miss a period of your life where you see all the boys going on holidays, this, that, and the other, and you're the one still in the gym. Yeah, you don't recognize it until like probably the back, and you're like, I missed out quite a bit, dude. Just a sacrifice for what you want.
Yeah. As bad as it sounds, it feels good when you feel your opponent break.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, you've got to have them goals and ambitions to become, you know, aim high, I always say, and, you know, become Olympic champion is always my goal.
Don't just talk it, walk it.
You've been doing a fair bit of this, haven't you?
I didn't do any for a long time since my last fight in UFC, but then I did one a few weeks ago. I did a seminar in Plymouth, so a long drive, but I did a seminar in Plymouth, and then they asked me, they said, would you do a podcast in the morning? I said, yeah. So that's when I started again. Nice,
mate, nice. Well, to be honest, man, like I've always been a fan. I've been a fan of UFC and MMA, for instance, for a while. And there was a guy actually from a town where I'm from in Wales. His name's Ben Ellis. I think he's in Cage Warriors. I think he's in Cage Warriors, or he was in, it's like the youth setup, and then it goes to the top end. Is that right with Cage Warriors?
I think they've got a couple of like a little Cage Warriors academies type thing that they have on around the country, really. Yeah. So I don't know how that works, but yeah, there is some lower level Cage Warriors, and then obviously there's a main one that's always on TV and stuff.
That's right. Yeah, I know he's on there, but it's growing. Like I'm probably going to sound so out of page compared to you because it's been bred in you from an age of like, and probably under 10, you've probably been doing wrestling and stuff.
6 I started.
6. Yeah, but there you go. You've literally just rolled out with your parents and you're wrestling, mate.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that a bit. Like, where did it all start with you then, essentially? Where did the wrestling come from? And because there's so many things up here, you got football, rugby, and you've gone on a wrestling path.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Wigan. I mean, wrestling in general, obviously not too popular, is it? You know what I mean? Not in this country. But in Wigan alone, you know, you've got a couple of wrestling clubs. It's a really gritty town, in it. You know what I mean? It's people seem to enjoy wrestling, and obviously rugby and places like that, things like that. But the reason it started for me is just because my mates was at school on about it at school one day, and they said they wanted to go down, and then I went home to my dad and I said to my dad, I want to go and try wrestling. My mates are going and stuff. And it was only that day that I found out my dad actually wrestled as a kid as well. Wow. He did a few years wrestling as a kid. With Roy Wood, the old style wrestling, but he said, yeah, I'll take you down, you know what I mean? Explained it's not easy, it's tough. I was only a small kid anyway, so you know, he didn't try and talk me out of it. He says, yeah, you should go and have a try. He took me down, and when I got there, you know, I wrestled, and the coach Roy Wood said I was a natural at it, really. Wow. And he said, because I don't know, I was just small, and there was 5 of us, so I had 4 other brothers and sisters. So I suppose you used to rowing about when you've got brothers and sisters and stuff. You used to rowing about. So the coach said you're good, and that built my confidence instantly, because I was a shy kid. I wasn't too confident, and when he said that, you know, and that's what good about sport. He said, you know, you could be good. It built my confidence straight away, and I thought, yeah, I feel good about myself, and I got excited, and I carried on going. My mates didn't carry on; they all went into rugby. Yeah. Obviously with Wigan, you know, so. And then I carried it on, and that's what I always did, really.
So what age was that where you got told, you know, you're pretty good at this, Mike?
It was at the first session, really. I was 6 years old.
So hang on, your dad's never told you this stage that he's never wrestled or anything, and you've gone in there and just picked it up like it was like a bit of a natural to it. Yeah, isn't that mad?
It is mad, yeah. I mean, I didn't know he wrestled until I asked him, could I go wrestling? Do you know what I mean?
It's pretty cool, that is. And then from that, then you just kind of stuck with it. You never went off to the rugby scene or...
I did, yeah. I tried rugby when I was about 11 or 12, I think I was. Because what happened was, I started wrestling, and I ended up going to another gym. We had a coach over. I was quite lucky, really, because at the time there was a coach over from America who was on the Olympic team for the American team, so he was really good. He was brought up with the system in America and stuff. Obviously, it's all in the schools and stuff there. He come over to UK to try and help build up the wrestling in this country, because wrestling isn't big in this country. So he come over as a job to do that, but he opened his own club in Ince, and that's where I went to wrestle. So I went and trained at his club 2-3 times a week. So I had good grassroots, really. I had a good coach from day one. Yeah. So I trained with him all the time.
Wow. It's interesting, though, Nick, because, like, was it a massive like pathway? Hey, like Mike, this is the pathway for you. Like if you stick to it, we can get to X, Y, and Z. Or was it kind of like you said, it's big in America, it's big in parts of Europe. But like, was it ever like, okay, this is the place, or like, is it someone you looked up to? Go, this is where I want to go.
No, not early doors. Obviously, early doors. You mean when you're a kid, it's just you're just enjoying it. You're just playing, you're having fun, and I think that's exactly how it should be. I mean? I coach kids in my club, and you've got it's important that it's fun, but there is a certain level you get to, and then you think, you know, you've got to step it up a gear, and you've got to start having them goals as to become Olympic champion. Let's say that was my goal when I got to a certain age, and I started traveling international and stuff. I mean, I did my first international tournament. I mean, I travelled and did a camp in America when I was 9. I was young.
Wow.
With my dad was there as well, but because our coach was from America, we went over to America and we did about 3 weeks training camp in America there. So I got to just see, you know, rather than just being in our own bubble here in the UK where there's not many wrestlers and not many great wrestlers, I got a chance to see what it was like out there, early doors. So then instantly I could see what I had to do to enable to get better or to become, you know, Commonwealth or Olympic or wherever I wanted to be. So I got a chance to see that early doors, which I was lucky again. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be fun. Yeah, early doors. But then there's the stage where it changes. You know, you've got to have them goals and ambitions to become, you know, I always say, and, you know, become Olympic champion. This was always my goal.
Amazing that. Was it a stage there where you were at a crossroad, maybe like in your teenager years or a bit older, where you're like, you know, the lads are probably getting on the drink more, chasing girls, and then you've got this other part, like, I want to pursue this career. And it's a bit of a crossroad where you see with a lot of athletes, I'd say you miss a period of your life where you see all the boys going on holidays, this, that, and the other, and you're the one still in the gym, putting in the hours. And yeah, you don't recognize it until like probably the back, and you're like, fuck, I missed out on quite a bit. You're just a sacrifice for what you want. Yeah,
I agree totally. I mean, growing up, obviously, I mean, I had the mates, you know, that did do all that. They went out, they drunk and all that type of stuff. And I still did go out with my mates, but I just never drank, and I still trained every night. So I still did have that side of things. I've never even been on a lads' holiday. So yeah, that's one thing. Like, I look back and I think, oh, I could have been going my glove there. Do you know what I mean? But no, I never did that, because I always had something. I was always training, or I had a competition, because like at 16, 17, I was on the world-class programme for wrestling, because obviously 2012 Olympics was coming round.
Wow.
My generation was one of the only athletes that got funded for wrestling. Not many people in this country, if anyone really, has really.
What year was this?
I was about 17 then. I don't know what exactly year would from then.
Early 2000? It
was about 6-7 years before 2012 Olympics.
Okay.
So they set up the world-class programme for wrestling. Wrestling have got a lot of money to pay their athletes, get new training partners coming in to obviously help us to get better, and sending us on training camps. We went on training camps like to Russia, to Romania. We never went to America, but we went to a lot of Eastern European countries to train wrestling and do training camps out there in order to get better and get ready for the Olympics. Yeah, wow. So I never really had a chance to do all that, like you say, you know, go on lads' holidays with mates, and that's the life I chose, and just, you know, I don't regret it one bit of it.
Well, it's led to the path you're on now, and you've got your son Jack killing it as well, and I was gonna probably kind of detour where I was going with the story, but I actually met you via your son. Sorry, I say your brother then. So I was in Mike's gym, and there's a restoration area there, the sauna and ice bath, and due to rugby, you get niggles and injuries just like you guys. And I heard about this gym, and one of the boys in Wigan said, give it a crack. And I went down there, and I was in the sauna, and then your son was in the sauna, and we were chatting away, and he was talking, he does fighting, and I looked at I couldn't really tell this, and I looked at his years, and I seen him his years, I was like, yep, got ya. And then I felt like then we started like, he was complaining how cold it is in the ice plunge, because it's like 3 or 2 degrees, or maybe
3. It is. It's cold.
And it dropped the week before that. I think it was like a bit higher than that, so it was manageable. And then it went boom. Yeah. And people were only doing like 30 seconds a minute, you know. And then I said, "Come on, mate, let's do this." And we were just doing a little bit of a battle, seeing how far. And I instantly, your son's 18.
He's 18. Yeah.
When you see that in someone at 18, that he's competitive, but he was really humble at the same time. Like from that, and I thought, I like this. And then from that, we've stemmed into, obviously, the dad coming on the podcast, mate. But it's pretty cool how it all works.
It was meant to be, He did come back that day, and he said that he's been speaking to you and stuff. But yeah, the sauna and plunge and steam's obviously really good. And like I said, I did see, because the chill. What happened was, I seen people on their Instagram stories saying, "I've done 8 minutes on the plunge, 10 minutes in the plunge." I thought, no way they're doing 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And then I realised we got a phone call from one of the staff, said, "I think the plunge is off, the chiller, because we've got a chiller in the back and it keeps it free, 3 degrees." So, and then obviously when we put it on, everyone's like 30 seconds, 20 seconds, so it's a bit different. But
good fun, man. It's good. And like you said, I talked about it earlier, just how that's changing people's probably routines and what it is. I heard a couple of people talking about they're laying off the booze now and they're more inclined to go in to train Monday to Friday and do some restoration on the weekends. That's important of what it's doing and what it's bringing to the community as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's not really anything like that in Wigan, really, I don't think. No. Not where you can go and pay a day pass and just go in, you know what I mean? But you've got your bigger gyms maybe that's charging you a fortune maybe for a day pass, or they're obviously making you turn up to membership. So we've got it as a day pass thing because, you know, and it is attracting a lot of people coming into the gym, not just athletes, people who just want to, you know, come in. And I think plunge pools and cold plunges are getting popular now because of mental health and things like that. Because you're getting up in the morning, you challenge yourself a little bit, and you know you're getting a bit competitive with yourself, and you feel a bit better about yourself that you've achieved staying it for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it is. You know, and I think that's good. And like I say, if you go to the gym, you know, you want a bit of time to yourself, and you can feel better about yourself when you come out of the gym, and that's what it's about, isn't it? And you know, we are fortunate enough to have a bunch of good members that are, you know, very welcoming and stuff like that. So the gym right now is doing great, to be honest.
Awesome.
In Wigan.
Is Bob Bezic part of that or not? Is he a part of the gym?
Bob's a PT's in the gym sometimes, and he comes in every now and again and stuff. But yeah, Bob's a good guy. He does all my strength and conditioning.
Does he?
Yeah.
So I played against Bob when he was playing for Ireland. He's a strength and conditioner for Widnes now, I believe. Still,
he is. Yeah. And
he had a bit of a no nonsense mentality. And I used to think he was just no emotion to his facial, like he was just like tough guy in the field. I thought, this guy's a dick, but he's actually, I met him at the game once, and he's a sound fella. And
he's a nice guy, but I know what I mean. Yeah, he's very stubborn, isn't he?
Yeah, but he probably gets the best out of a lot of people purely because he's not letting you cut corners, and
no, he's not.
Probably you batted heads with maybe a couple of times. So
yeah, he's just very he's very strict on his technique when you're lifting and all that type of stuff. But no, he's great. I've had Bob since like a pro career started, really, so amazing. A long time. Good. I don't know how long it is, but. It's a good few years anyway, so he's been good to me, Bob.
Well, that's good to hear, man. He's a good fella. It's quite interesting, right? So earlier I was watching a couple of old wrestling videos, and I wouldn't say that old, but it was I think it was the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
What was the country the guy that you fought against? It was the final. I think it was the finale.
Yeah, I had the final was Malta, but I had in that games that you probably watched, which was 2014 in Glasgow. I went against a Camerooni guy first. He was strong. That was a good match. Second, I went against I think it was South African guy. Third, I went against the Pakistan guy, and then last match was against the Malta for the bronze.
I watched that Malta fight, and it was over before it was done. But so this is something I'm always interested in. I'm interested in the science, but more importantly, this is probably like engraved in you from the core. But like your depth that you got under and popped him up, like that energy from that load from the bottom up, you sprung him up.
Yeah. And
it was just a moment of, all right, I'm tipping you now. And it was just bang, you put him down, and then before you know it was over. But I couldn't get over just that energy, I suppose, explosiveness.
Yeah.
And is that always been a part of your game somewhere where like you're always, I've even watched in your UFC fights or MMA fights in general, you're always going under, but you get real low and then shoot. Is that just a common thing in wrestling, or am I just...
Yeah, more so in wrestling rather than MMA, because obviously when people's wrestling, they're really low in the stances. Yeah. So you kind of got to go down to come back up. Whereas if in MMA, they're a bit more upright with the fight stances. So you kind of shoot a double legs in like on your feet, if you know what I mean. Whereas wrestling, you do actually have to go really low and get on your knee and stuff. So it's a little bit... I'd say attack's a lot harder in wrestling than it is in MMA. But yeah, I mean, my game has always been about just explosive, really, and... just trying to wear down my opponent. That's always been my game. As bad as it sounds, for me it feels good when you feel your opponent break. Wow. Yeah.
That's that mental game, I reckon, though, isn't it? When you enjoy the grind.
I'd love the grind, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not many people like the grind.
To me, it's not a grind. To me, it's just like, I love it. So it's like, We were just talking about it then, me and Jack, to be honest. I don't even know how we got on the subject, but he just said, Jack says, you're just built for the grind. He says, but I don't even like calling it the grind because the grind's like hard work and
but it's not for you.
For me, it's just like, I do love it.
Yeah,
and I just do it, you know what I mean? Like I said, I was talking about it on the way up, but I just get up and I just do it. Do you know what I mean? That's just what I do.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to have that mentality, because that mentality, if that's your comfort place, let's put it that way, for someone else, that's the hell. Yeah. So if you can go out, I'm taking you in the trenches today, know that I'm going to be okay by the end of it. Like that's that mental warfare there in the battle as such.
Yeah, but that is my way of fighting, my way of wrestling. I like to break people.
It's a beautiful thing to know,
it's
man.
A weird thing to say, but yeah.
You
feel the life come away from them, you know what I mean? It's the right feeling for me.
Have you ever been in a situation where like you can just, it's just something in particular, you know, I'm going to break this guy just 20 more seconds or 1 more minute. If he can go 1 more minute with me, I can. Is it like the look in their eye, or is it...
Yeah, you can just see it.
Yeah.
The live drain from the face.
Really?
Yeah. So I've done it quite a few times in wrestling, where I'll just work on... So, for example, a wrestling round is like... Back then it was 2 minutes. So I'll spend the first minute on just grinding them down. Faking, snapping, faking. And then I'll start picking my shots up then. Wow. And then when you've got them, you know, and you just pick them apart then.
Wow. It's pretty amazing.
In the pocket then.
Now you're just like, right, when am I going to take you home? You're easy now, easy work. It's pretty amazing, man. And a part of that then, what would you put that down to? Obviously yourself, but like, is it the people you surround yourself with in the gym, or was it people who've always pushed you, or are you always competing against people heavier than you, that is always, so like if they're heavier, or is it just something in you?
It's just something it's the way I've always been, really. I'm very competitive anyway. I'm a very competitive person in anything I kind of do, really. But yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed training. I know when I'm fully fit, I know how fit I am. Do you know what I mean? I know there's not really many people fitter than me.
Yeah.
When I'm 100%, so you know I can kind of play that game. If you're not fully fit, or you've cut corners in your training, you can't really play that game because you're going to get tired before them if you cut corners in your training and stuff. So I know I don't cut any corners when I'm training fully, and I know I'm always fitter than probably anyone in the room, to be honest. That's
a good thing, and it's good as in confidence to know that, right, I can go to town with everyone you and feel comfortable in my own skin.
Yep.
What would you say then, like, obviously we talked about earlier with the wrestling, where going over to the States or going into like Russia or over into Europe and is a stronger pull there of wrestlers? Like when you go to, whenever I see any videos of wrestling in the States, it's like a pool of, like it's like a mini school in there.
Yeah.
Was it ever one say, I don't like the word imposter syndrome, was there ever a word of like, all right, this is going to challenge me now? Obviously, before we go into the Commonwealth Games, before you go to those other things as a youngster, was there ever a moment like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but you need them as well. You need them times. Yeah, I mean, we went to Russia quite a few times. First time I went to Russia, you go on the mat. First of all, obviously, it can be quite intimidating because you've got a bunch of Russians just snarling at you, and they're like trying to figure you out, who you are, and they're not very welcoming.
Yeah,
I mean, and you know, you go after a few times of going and wrestling them. You know what I mean? They're actually very nice people, and you know they'll look after you, they'll help you, stuff like that. But initially, first it's like you walk in a room with and talking like 150 wrestlers on the mat. You've got like 20 people your weight, and at least 5 or 6 of them are European champions or world champions or even been to the Olympics. So they've got high level wrestlers. So there's no hiding. Like you can't go around with him who's really good and then go around with him who's not that good, and you can have an easy round. Everyone was hard. So yeah, that's a time probably where I've felt it. You know, where you're going in, you feel a little bit intimidated, and you feel like you've got to your back's against the wall a little bit. Yeah. So Russia,
Russia was the place.
Russia was the place, but I've been like 8-9 times now, and it's an experience.
I bet. It's but obviously, if you come out the other end with a success, it's kind of like a more, you know, another tick on the wall sort of thing.
Yeah, it's mega experience. I mean, you know, back then, the Russian wrestlers were dominating the scene for freestyle wrestling over the Americans. I think the Americans are coming back around now, and they're starting to win a lot with the wrestling tournaments and stuff. But back then, the Russians were dominating. So, you know, it was a tough camp. We was there for like 3 to 4 weeks at a time.
Oh, wow.
It was before the games, Commonwealth Games.
Yeah. What was that experience like? I think I heard about it previously, but was it something to do with like we'd have Russians coming over to the UK and like you train with them the whole duration, but then at one stage they were like eligible to be UK people.
Yeah, so that's what happened. That kind of made me fall out with wrestling a little bit.
Yeah,
a lot of politics, like I said, but
was that year or no? Or was that before that?
It was before that. Sorry, they come before that.
Yeah.
So basically, when I got took on the world class program at 17, we had a few people from Ukraine, Russia, places like that come over, and it's no fault of their own. Do you know what I mean? The association kind of got them over to be training partners for us. So they was there to kind of help us and help us get better, you know, be better training partners. Otherwise, we're just training with each other. So, but then after a few years or so, you know, they started to get the passports and they started staying here. They started wrestling for us, you know, and it's like in 2012, the only person that went to Olympics for us was a girl from Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
So,
jeez.
It was, and I obviously, from 6 years old, at the when I started taking it fully serious, you know, 10, 11, whatever it was, I wanted to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And then I got took on the world class program at 17. Everything was all about going to the Olympics. We was just getting ready to go to 2012 Olympics, and then, you know, then it obviously got took away from us late.
And obviously that puts a bitter taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
And obviously creates that resentment. Was there any time you go, fuck, I'm off this now, I'm done here?
Yeah, when so in 2010, so 2 years before the Olympics, 2010, we had the Commonwealth Games in India.
Yeah.
And it was probably about 2 months. We had 3 qualification tournaments to go to Commonwealth Games. I qualified and won all 3 of them at my weight, at 74 kilogram. So there was a Russian guy who was the weight above me. And he decided 2 months before he wanted to come down to my weight. So, but I'd already qualified. My parents had already got the tickets to go to India and everything. I already had my tracksuit sizes done and everything to go to Commonwealth Games in India. And the association said, right, we've got a guy who wants to come down to your weight, and you have to do a best out of 3 wrestle off. So you have to wrestle him best out of 3. If he wins, he goes at your weight. If you win, you go. But like I said, I'd already done everything I asked to do to go, and my mind was set on going. And anyway, we had to do the wrestle off. There's no way around it. And I won him in 2 matches. So I went. Yeah, nice. I said to myself, if I lost, I'll be finished.
Wow, man. Imagine if that. Well, look, thank God it didn't happen. But like, that whole duration of that journey from when you went into the program at the start and it didn't. Was there anyone that had bad news like that?
There was other wrestle. I think there was one more wrestle off on the day as well. And there was a guy that come over from Canada, wrestled another guy, and the Canadian guy won, so he went, but he never wrestled for us before. He just had some grandma or whatever from UK or something. Do you know what I mean? So he got a chance to wrestle for us. But yeah, I mean, I did the Commonwealth Games, and then after that, I kind of stopped wrestling a little bit. And that's when I went into fighting. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to start asking you about now. Is like, what was the reason to go? I need to get into the fight game more now, the MMA side.
I mean, the reason it come about is because Terry Ettin, which was a guy from Liverpool, Team Carbon, he was the first guy to get into the UFC from Team Carbon in Liverpool. Yeah. So he come down to our wrestling academy. And he just wanted to do some wrestling because he was coming up against a wrestler in the UFC, his first or his second fight, I can't remember. And he didn't really like it at the academy. The coach wasn't too welcoming. We had a Russian coach, and he wasn't too welcoming for him. So he said to me after, he said, would you come down to Team Carbon in Liverpool and just do training, wrestle with us a couple of times a week? So I said, yeah, I'll come down. So I went down and I helped him out, and afterwards, I tried a bit of jiu-jitsu as well. Wow. So I did the wrestling and I helped him with his wrestling, did a bit of jiu-jitsu, did a bit of Thai boxing, enjoyed it. It was just something new, you know. I've wrestled since I was 6 and it was just something new for me, a bit more of a challenge. And I started doing bits, and then, like I said, after the 2010 Commonwealth Games, I kind of started making the switch then to MMA because the coach, again, my coach Colin, you know, he said, would you ever try MMA? And I always said to him, I'd only try after 2012 Olympics. But when that happened to me in 2010, kind of fell out with wrestling a little bit, and I went to MMA then.
Well, so that was that in. I think you had your debut in 2017. Was that right? Did you have your debut in MMA? I think I got a year.
I had an amateur fight in 2011.
Amateur,
I had 6
right.
amateurs, yeah.
How did you find the transition then? Obviously, you're doing the jiu-jitsu, you're probably doing Muay Thai and boxing, but then how did you find like that, where it's not, you know, instead of looking for that takedown straight away, you know, your whole stance has changed?
Yeah, it did. I mean, early doors, all 3 things, like all the things individually, I was kind of okay, you know what I mean? I picked them up quick individually, but putting everything together, that was different, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So probably the striking I struggle with most.
Yeah.
The grappling kind of come a bit more natural because obviously I'm used to handle people's body with wrestling and stuff like that, and the chokes and things. So they come naturally, but it was more putting everything together.
Yeah.
I felt I learned how to punch and kick quite early, but like I said, putting everything together was probably the hardest thing.
I think, man, when I see people kick, so I had a mate, he does Muay Thai, and I watched him fight a couple of times. And honestly, like watching someone get kicked in the leg, that pain, obviously you condition yourself to that level, but I think watching a kick in the leg is like, watching it is enough. If you're taking that hit,
it's not nice when someone's got it good and they sink it in well.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well,
it's not nice.
Well, I've, you know, with the UFC fights now, you look at now, a lot of people are kicking more lower calf and ankle, that area, and it must hit a nerve or something, but the whole stance has changed, where before you'd be hitting
thigh,
low thigh or thigh area, but now it's getting ankle. How come that's incorporated now over the years?
It's just started to get popular really again. I mean, kicking to the calf, but yeah, obviously there's not as much muscle around the calf. I mean, if you hit it wrong, you can obviously hit your own shin, can't you? You know what I mean? You've seen some snaps. Vanderson Silva and obviously McGregor did it. Yeah, I don't know how he did his, but like I said, kicking low, if they check it, obviously it's risky, but yeah, you hit the right nerve.
How do you check it? How do you check it though, like that kick? Because it's normally, this is me with a novice experience, but when I hear people kicking like a thigh, sounds like you bring the knee up or something. Or
yeah, the knee up and turn the shin.
But how do you do that for the lower ankle?
It probably is a little bit harder, but if you do kick wrong, you're going to kick shin to shin, aren't you?
And you'd know it yourself more.
Oh, you'd know it then as well.
Yeah, it could change the whole dynamic of a fight if you see that happen. But it's just
it's
really
getting popular now, you know. A lot of people's doing the calf kicks and stuff.
Yeah, but even like I think wrestling in the UFC is growing more. The one thing I found really interesting is like you'll have people who are both wrestlers, like Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Yeah, and they go stand and bang.
They do, yeah. Probably because I always thought that fight, it was a bit of an ego from both of them. They didn't want to fail a takedown, they didn't want to get tucked down. Yeah. So it was like more, we're both wrestlers. So there was probably like hesitant on trying to take down because they didn't want to fail it, and then they kind of class as the second best wrestler. Do you mean? Yeah, so no, I think it's a bit of an ego that was, but like if I come against a wrestler or who's classed as a wrestler, I'm still going to take you down. Do you know what I mean? That was my mentality. Like I come up against Movsar and everyone was saying he's the best wrestler in the division, the Russian kid. I did lose, but I still took him down. More than 8 times throughout the 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Was
there little wins for you in that though, being like, you know, I've took him down, and people are talking him up, even though it was a loss at the end, but it was still little victories throughout it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's how you got to fight. I think I always tell Jack, I always say, don't just concentrate on winning the fight. Win every little area of the fight, and then you've won the fight. Do you know what I mean? You win every area of the fight. If someone puts you back on the cage, you get off the cage and put his back on the cage and take him down. You've won that part of the fight, and that's important. Win every little area of the fight.
I like that. Yeah, man. I watched a fair bit of your son's fights as well. They're pretty impressive. But going back to the UFC regarding yourself, mate, was like obviously that seems like that was the goal. It's a goal for a lot of people once you got into MMA. Was it? How did that evolve? How did that become? You know, how did you receive the news and where did it all start from?
I mean, first of all, my mentality coming into the sport, in any sport or in anything I do, I want to be the best. I want to be at the top of I want in the best division or best organisation, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so when I went, obviously going to Team Carbon, they're obviously renowned for bringing out the best fighters in the country or in the world sometimes, you know what I mean? So I knew I was with a great team, first of all, and I think that's important. If you're ever looking at fighting, first of all, establish yourself with a good team.
Good team, yeah.
And then, you know, like obviously that's what I did. I went to Team Carbon. I knew I was with a good team, and then that was it. I always knew I was going to be in the UFC. And then the way it came about, I mean, obviously I trained hard and I did what I did, and I racked up straight quite quick. I won 6 amateur fights, went professional. And I actually left fighting then, didn't I, for a little bit. Not left fighting, but I went back and did the Commonwealth Games in 2014.
That's right.
I felt like I had unfinished business within the wrestling. So I come back and I went and got a bronze at the Commonwealth Games. Then I went
just
pro.
a casual bronze.
Yeah.
Just went back, got a bronze, and got out of there. Did you have to not upskill yourself, but like it's like riding a bike essentially, but you know, drop the Muay Thai, drop the boxing, and fully focus again on wrestling?
No, so this is where I think mentality is so important within sport. So when I went to 2010 Commonwealth Games, I went to Russia. I went to all over Eastern Europe to train wrestling, just wrestling. I was purely just a wrestler. And then when I went to 2014, I did most of my training as an MMA fighter still wrestling. Don't mean every day, but I was still doing Thai and I was still doing jiu-jitsu and stuff. I went for 2 weeks to America and trained wrestling.
Nice.
Come back and went to the Commonwealth Games. So I'd say my preparation was better in 2010, but my mindset was much better in 2014.
Wow.
And that was the difference for me getting a medal and not getting a medal. Because in 2010 I got fifth. In 2014 I got a bronze. So I think the only thing that shifted in that time frame was my mentality. I come away from the British wrestling, and I got with Team Carbon. I was surrounded by world-class athletes who was fighting in the UFC. I was surrounded with a world-class coach who believed in me.
Wow.
And that's the things I changed, and that's why I feel I got a medal, because I went into Commonwealth Games thinking I'm unbeatable. I did get beat, obviously, in the semi-finals, but I was like, my mentality was, I'm getting gold, and that is it. And there's no other mentality in that. I was 100% like I was going to go and get gold. I didn't get gold, but that's what I always say, and I always said to Jack, you know, one mistake I made with the UFC is I always said to myself, I'm going to be in the UFC. But that isn't actually enough. Yeah. I should have been telling myself I'm going to be the UFC champion.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So that was my mentality. Only when I got to the UFC, then I first started saying, I want to be the UFC champion now. Nice. I should have said it from day one. That's that thing. So I always said to, like, Jack, for example, I always said, don't just aim to be in the UFC. Yeah. I said, you need to be aiming to, like, creating a legacy. 2-weight world champion. Yeah. Something that someone's never ever done, even McGregor. You know what I mean? Think of something that McGregor's not done that's better than what he's done. I like that. I mean? So he's obviously become 2-weight world champion, and he's fought Floyd Mayweather. So it's a tough task, but no one really thinks they can do it until they've seen someone else do it.
Yeah, it's like someone running the marathon at a certain pace and no one's done it before, and then someone's achieved it, and then before you know, everyone starts doing it. It's funny you say that. Like, I have sports clients come to me, I want to be pro in this, I want to be pro in that. I'm like, what, you want to be like a squad number? Because if you're a squad number, you're a minority, like you're a majority of them. That's like, do you want to be starting? Like, for instance, if it's in a team sport, like, fine tune what that is, what you want, because okay, I want to be a rugby player. Okay, cool. There's a squad of 30, but only 13 get on the field. Yeah, there's 30 games in a season, but you're squad number 29. Like, is that going to fulfill you? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a similar concept of what you're just saying. I like that. And you passing that on to Jack, mate. It's pretty powerful. Yeah,
I think, I mean, a lot of the good things I've done within sport, but also a lot of the things where I feel I've done wrong, I make sure he doesn't make them. So he's leaps and bounds above anyone already within his division, within the amateur scene in the UK, because obviously he's learning from my mistakes, but also he's taking on what I've done good. Yeah.
It's good as well, though. Like, there's so many people out there probably don't listen to the dad. Do you know what I mean? Nah, fuck dad. What's dad and hope? But even though, like, because you're relatively young still. Yeah. So it's like, you're not like a 50, 60-year-old fella passing down a young, ignorant son. It's like, there's only, I don't know, what, 18 years, yeah.
I was 17 when I was young.
No wonder you weren't going to Magaluf, mate. You were busy.
Exactly. I had to stay away from Magaluf. I was still looking after a baby then.
Yeah. But there's, you know what I mean? I like the mindset of what you've done and passed it on. And I think as well, one thing about UFC or MMA, we'll say then, like, there's not many people who are undefeated in that game. You know what I mean? And that is a show of resilience in itself. Like, so many people have had a loss and then they've kicked on from that.
Come back.
And there's someone I was going to talk to. I know you've trained a lot with Darren Till, right?
Yeah.
And he went on a bit of a losing streak, and you could see his mentality and probably the pressure of, I think he's had a bit of a name to go far, and the expectation on him, I'd say, at one stage.
Yeah. Early doors as well.
But yeah, exactly. A bit too early. But then I seen him fight that Duplessis. Remember that fight?
Yeah.
And
last one, was
last one, yeah. And I thought, right, okay, he could have won that fight.
I think so, yeah.
And look where Duplessis has kicked on from there.
Yeah.
But probably at that time, and Duplessis probably wasn't as big of a name as he is now, but he was only 1 or 2 fights away from where he is now. And it's like, in hindsight, if he knew what he was fighting against then, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing with UFC. Your life can very quickly change overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a good fight or you have a good knockout or something spectacular happens, your life can change overnight. That's the thing, innit? When you're in the limelight and there's so much media around, you could just say one thing, you know what I mean, and it could change things, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, you're right there. How do you find it then? Obviously, when you went into the UFC, was it like you said, your goal was to get to the UFC? What was it feel like? Obviously, you're fighting against people now with probably high professional skills in one aspect, but maybe you're not a good wrestler, or they're a good wrestler and poor stand-up. Was there ever a time of like, what was the mentality going into these fights now? Was it wholly like totally different, or?
No, I mean, nothing changed from my pro career. You know, I fought high-level guys towards the end of my pro career on the domestic scene, let's say. So, I mean, I went over to Japan and I fought the Shuto two-weight world champion over there. I went to Brazil. I fought a guy who got... he was second on Tough. He got to the final. He was a Tough finalist. Where he were in Brazil, where we went in the house and stuff. He got to the final of that. He fought in the UFC. I beat him. So, you know, I'd already trained with high level UFC fighters throughout my career, even from starting amateur. And I coached them, and I'd also been like, I cornered my first. I cornered Paul Sasser in MGM Grand.
Oh wow.
In Vegas, so I went there, trained for 2.5 weeks, and then I cornered him there. So I'd felt what it was like to walk out in front of 20,000, 25,000, however many of these arenas hold. You know, I felt what it was like, and then you can get a chance to just step back and just think, well, how would I feel if this was me now walking out? And you can feel it. You know, you can feel what it's going to be like and stuff. So I was lucky to have that experience, because I cornered in London, I cornered in Vegas, I cornered in Germany. So I'd done all these big arenas before I even stepped in there.
It's pretty amazing.
So even like, as far as being in the back in the changing rooms, and you know, the people coming out calling your name, right, you're walking next, and all that type of stuff. So I felt all that, being behind the curtain before the open and you walk out with music. I'd felt that. So I was quite lucky to get that experience, really.
I like that. Which one?
And that's obviously part of being a big team that's made the most UFC fighters in this country, you know what I mean?
Definitely, man. And that just shows being selective from early on, picking where you want to be, what environment you want to be in. Yep. And that you can only grow from that, right?
Exactly, yeah. You're surrounded by successful people. You're surrounded by the people on the same mission as you, as the meme says, you know what I mean? People say it, but it is true, you know? Yeah,
it definitely is. Would you say, how do you go before fights, like nerves-wise and things like that? Like, are you a nervous person or anxious person, or do you kind of like, I'm just ready to roll a fight day?
Yeah, I'm quite relaxed. I mean, I've got a lot of experience, obviously competing from 6-year-old.
Yeah.
But still, you know, everyone gets nerves. I don't care who they are, they get nerves. So yeah, I get nervous, I get scared, I get happy, I'm happy. But me more so, I probably get more happy closer to the fight it gets.
Really?
Yeah, and more relaxed.
Wow.
I don't know why, but
you enjoy that grind mode, didn't you? You like that?
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I get more happy and relaxed when I get closer to the fight.
Are you a person that enjoys the like, you know, there's a lot of now the talk before the fight, the amped up, the built up, you know, the controversial words between each other. Are you into that, or are you more just, would you say, like, let's get this done?
More like just get it done, really. I mean, if somebody was to really disrespect me, like before fights, then obviously I'd disrespect them. But it'd be more real with me, do you know what I mean? Because I'm not that kind of guy. No. I'm not the kind of guy to start speaking personally about somebody. But if someone did it to me, then it's like, okay, it's real. I'm not just going to go tit for tat. Yeah. I'm like, that's real. I take it personal then.
I like that. Yeah, it's good.
Because I'm not that kind of guy where I disrespect somebody.
It kind of makes sense when I seen Jack that he had that kind of humbled talk, and it was probably passed. Well, it has passed down from you.
Yeah, he's probably pretty similar, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, and I want to ask you as well. Even in defeats, right? What is it like experiencing a defeat in a one-man sport? Essentially, I know there's a team behind you, but it's you in the ring or in the cage, essentially. So, I've spoke to other people about this, but I want to hear your thoughts on that process.
Yeah, it's a tough process to follow. Do you know what I mean? You lose, and then it's like you feel like. I mean, obviously, if you're at the top and when I've lost in the UFC and stuff. First of all, a lot of the fans ain't great. They're onto you on Instagram and places like that. But you feel like you've let everyone down. You feel like you just want to hibernate for a few weeks and not see anyone. Because when you're at the top, and like in my town, most people know who I am. Yeah. You don't want to go to the shop. You don't want to go out your house. So I try not to do that. Because I think you've just got to face the music, and people don't actually care, to be honest. But yeah, that's how you feel. You just feel like you just want to hibernate for a few weeks until it's all settled down, and you're not going to get and ask any questions. Yeah. Because people don't really know how to act around you. You've just lost on TV in front of, I mean, let's say millions, whatever. Because people just watch on TV. You got 20,000 in the arena, and whatever's happened has happened, and you think. Yeah, it's some kind. You think it's embarrassing. Yeah, people don't actually care. Do you know what I mean? Because
I realised that. Yeah. I think at one stage I had to quit rugby for like 5 years ago. I had to retire. Like I'm back now, but I had a big period because of 3 knee reconstructions, ACLs, and on the same knee. And it's like it's like autopilot. Like, if you're a fighter, how's training going? This, that, and the other. Yeah. But then when it's not there anymore, it's kind of like, you think that you've created this identity of who you actually are, but it's like that's just their go-to question for you. You know what I mean? So, how did that fight go the other week? They didn't even probably know they probably know if you won or lost, but they don't mean to be rude.
Yeah, they just don't know how to act around you.
Yeah. It's an interesting part, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it comes across as awkward sometimes when you get in them situations. When you've lost, obviously when you're
puffing your chest out,
you're walking around everywhere, shop every 5 minutes.
I won. Did you see that?
But yeah, when you've lost, it's different.
Yeah, man. And I want to talk as well. Like, I don't know how the UFC goes regarding contracts. Is it normally like a stock standard? Like, you get X amount of fights on this contract, and from that, then we reevaluate.
So it's like, usually they give you like a 4-fight contract, but it's still always in their favour. They can always get rid of you when you want. You know what I mean? Right, okay. But it's usually like a 4-fight contract.
And how does that play then on the mental side? If you've won, or maybe if you won 2 fights, you all right, we're gonna re-sign something soon. But if you had a couple of losses, does that play on your mind going into the next fight? Like, fuck, I've got to be a bit more safe here.
Yeah, a lot, really, a lot, because like that was one of my downfalls. So I always thought if I didn't perform or obviously didn't win, it was like, am I going to get cut now? Am I going to get cut? Rather than just enjoying the process. Yeah. That's when I'll change. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I had my first fight, I won, good performance. Yeah. And then I had quite a bit of a layoff, and it was only due to UFC not really keeping me active. And then I got injured. So it was a thing. But then obviously I lost. And I was like, straight away, just because I lost, I was like, oh, they're going to cut me now. I was asking my coach, are they going to cut me? Do you think they cut me? And he said no, and then he didn't. And then again, I fought. But then you just always kind of feel that pressure. It's one thing getting UFC, but staying in the UFC is different. You know what I mean? But you've just got to not, anyone who's going to get in the UFC, you've just got to not think about that side of getting cut or impressing them, impressing the fans all the time. Yeah. You just got to concentrate on your journey and enjoy it. So that's true. That's what I think.
So true, man. It's another analogy, not an analogy, it's a story. I've experienced it. So many sports players have experienced it. So obviously the fight game, you'll have a fight every, how many months would it be from one fight to another?
Could be like 3 to 4 months. Do you know what I mean? You could have, they try and get you 3 or 4 a year. Yeah,
that's okay. And then from that, then, if you haven't heard off that guy prior to a potential loss, or a loss, let's say that, right? It plays a bit of an anxiety in your ear to be like, what's crack now? What's going on next? And I was speaking about this to the rugby boys or the players or even clients I work with. Like, say, for instance, they play on a Saturday or Sunday, they lose. He may have made 1 or 2 mistakes. They'll go into training on Monday, and the coach might not even say good morning or hello to them, but they've just walked past him, right? Their anxiety is just sprung to the ceiling because they think, fuck, he's off me now because of that one mistake. But he's probably dealing with injuries from the weekend before from other squad, probably dealing with the board, he's dealing with other things. But like one altercation or one passing by without checking in, it can increase this anxiety. And in athletes, we are so driven by not pleasing, but if you got a coach, right, they are like your master.
Yep.
And you want to fucking please them.
Yeah, that's always been another thing why I've probably trained so hard. Because my coach is probably the hardest man to please ever. But one of my goals was always to try and please him. But I mean, try and make sure he knows that I'm the hardest worker in the room or whatever, just to impress him a little bit. And I think that's where he comes in as a good coach. He probably knew that about me.
Yeah. So
probably he'd only give me a little bit every now and again, do you know what I mean? But that's probably why he got the most out of me, as in training-wise and how hard I trained and stuff. But yeah, I think that was always one of my goals, to try and impress your coach.
You want to, and for instance, how many fighters are in the gym?
Probably 20 when it's
20,
or even sometimes.
So he's potentially connecting to 20 fighters in one day.
Yeah,
and if he's walked past you without saying hello, and you've had a poor training session, imagine the thought process coming out, and it's caught up in their brain. So it's a really important thing I do with a lot of clients or players is map out that, get that overwhelming brain, dump it into a paper, and recognize what's true and what's not true, because a lot of our thoughts we make are made up on top of a story.
Yeah.
And
expand them, didn't you?
Yeah,
a lot.
I think
it.
Yeah, and it's good to see now. You see a lot of fighters having mental coaches or mentors in that aspect, because I think most players will connect to the fighting. Most fighters train pretty much, might be a couple of percentage difference between one fight and the other. You know, you train, you lift the similar weights, you cut the same amount of weight, or not all, everyone. So like, if you can focus on the mental side of the fight, and the other guy, that's not everyone's doing. I think that's the 2 or 3% that you only need as a fighter 100%. Or a sports athlete to have one over. Like your mindset from going from the first Olympics, Commonwealth, to the next one, mentality was different. Your environment was different. Your coaching systems, your process was different. But you recognize that from your mental game. Yeah,
100%. That's the only thing that changed, really. But yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like, I mean, like you said, we all train hard, we all have good nutrition, we all got good strength and conditioners. You know, we've all got similar techniques type thing, but like you said, the mental side of things is the one that makes the difference.
It's true. It's true.
So important, especially in the fight game. It
is, and you're Jack's blessed, man, to have you in his team now. Like, I mean, his dad, but I mean, just like you said, you're a mentor. You're probably a best friend to him. You're everything.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together. I mean, obviously we're traveling to and from training every day and stuff. But like you said, the good thing is he does actually listen and take it on board.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you said, most people don't listen to their dads, do they?
Nah.
But he does, and he listens. But I've coached him from 4-year-old. Jack started wrestling at 4, just rolling around on the mat and stuff. But I've coached him a long time now, so I know him inside out.
Do you has it ever been you've had a situation in the gym where you've wrestled or anything, and you're like, shit, he done me there, or he might have done, you know?
We have it now regularly.
Now you're like, no more wrestling.
We did actually have we had a wrestle off when he was, because I'll tell you a story quick, but basically when he was 9,
please,
when he was 9-year-old, I got the bronze at the Commonwealth Games, and he gave me some stick, saying, why'd you get bronze? You should have got gold. You know, giving me a bit of banter really. And I said, okay, when you turn 18, we're going to have a wrestle. So he turned 18, we set up, and it got pretty big. A lot of people was onto it, you know, like UFC media asked me, you're going to have a wrestle with your son. So a lot of people was interested in watching this wrestle off. So anyway, we had it. It was only a few months ago. And what we did, we sold tables. So we had a sit-down meal and stuff like that. Put the wrestling mat in the middle, and we'd put like 6 other wrestling matches just over other people, and then me and Jack was like main event, and we wrestled off at the DW Stadium. It was in one of the suites. It went really well. We raised some money. The money was originally going to my dad, but he passed, so we just give it to my mum. So my mum took the money, but yeah, it was we wrestled off there. But now we wrestle regular because he's getting probably a little bit too big and good for a lot of the other lads in the gym. So I have to make sure I wrestle him as well now, so he's getting that intensity. But yeah, he's hard work. Me and him wrestling now is getting pretty even.
What would he be weighing?
He's like 80. He's like 80, 81 now.
80. And you were fighting a 76, were you?
I fight 66.
I
wrestled
66.
at 74.
Oh, okay, that's where I seen it. Oh, fuck.
But I fight at featherweight 66. But I'm now 79. So me and him are quite close-ish, but he just feels so strong still.
Yeah, wow.
He's hard work at the minute.
Just sitting at, is he at home with you as well? Is he living at home with you?
He lives at home, yeah.
Yeah, did you not even look at him at the table after rest?
No, I won the wrestle off.
Oh,
so
nice. Okay.
I'm still the man of the house now.
I like that. How many years do you reckon you got till it's the turn?
Can't be long now.
Yeah.
He took me down in training the other day.
It's a good way to be, man. I like that. And it keeps your egos in check. Well, you know what I mean? Having that.
But if there's anyone you want to beat, it's your son, innit? Do you know what I mean? I won't accept anyone else beating me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. I want to ask you as well, what do you like after a fight? Do you go all out, enjoy yourself, or do you get back into the gym as soon as possible, or do you check out mentally?
I'll make sure I go enjoy some time with my mates and stuff, and we'll go out and whatever, with my family mainly, because obviously, they've been through a lot as well. Obviously, it's tough, innit? To be with a fighter for a woman is intense, like, especially if you've got kids as well. Yeah. So it's tough on them. My wife's done a hell of a lot for me. Stayed at home with the kids, put her life on hold, put her career on hold, to make sure I can kind of fulfill mine and obviously try and bring money back as well, which is important. But yeah, it's I try and make sure I spend time with them really after, but I don't go all out. You know what I mean? I get one night out, and then I am back on within a week. I am back training within a week.
It's cool, lad. I like that. What's been your worst injuries or injury?
I've had a few. I've had a couple of shoulder operations, knee operations, jaw. I broke my jaw in my third fight in the UFC, or second fight in the UFC. I broke my jaw. Wow. So, but nothing obviously major, but I've got loads of niggles, you know what I mean, through wrestling. Wrestling's the worst for injuries.
I was going to say, because you're pulling on tendons all the time and ligament, like, you grip, and then you've got your shoulder, your rotator cuffs, you've got cartilage issues. I'm probably talking about all your injuries right now. Yeah, you are. It's all on the pressure points, isn't it?
Yeah, probably mainly shoulders.
Shoulders.
I've got no cartilage in my shoulders.
Wow.
So I've had an operation on one. I need another as well, probably.
Wow, man. And from that, like, are you big into supplements, or are you big into what's your recovery? Like, obviously you've got the gym now, but I mean, like, is that like a religious thing for you now, where you're always looking after the recovery side just as much? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, especially now I'm getting older, I feel the difference now in my recovery. So like, I feel I can train just as hard as the lads in the gym, but I definitely don't recover as quick.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I do feel that. But like I say, I'm fortunate enough I have Summit Physio that sponsor me. So they just look after me. So when I'm in camp, or even now, to be honest, when I'm not in camp, I make sure I go and see them once a week. Yeah. So whether it's just a massage, sports massage, or just looking after any niggles or injuries I've got. So I try and keep on top of them all the time, really. So yeah, so Summit Physio look after me there.
I like that, mate. I like that. It's massive in part in it. The recovery is probably just as important, if not to the training, because if you can't recover quick enough, or you're not looking after stuff, you can't train as effective, and then it's a roll-on effect. It's
massively important. Our coach always says, you're not overtraining, you're under-recovered.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's his mentality. You know what I mean? You train hard, but you make sure you get recovery in.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your last fight in the UFC. I watched some of your fights prior to that, and you're very, you're eyeing up the fight at first. You'll stand off for a bit and guide, look, see. But that when you went flat out 100 miles in, really aggressively, and then I was like, I looked at the interview, I think prior to it, I'd seen the post before the fight, talk, and it was a bit of probably one of the toughest times of where you were going through that stage.
It was, obviously, and I don't mind talking about it. Obviously, my dad was terminally ill, and we had him. I mentioned it in one of the media interviews, and obviously a lot of people latched onto it. So it was quite a big thing going into that fight. And he was in the crowd. My dad was there, mum was there front row, and I gave him a hug before I went on. So I never really thought it affected me before the fight, because I'm very focused, and I was fully focused on the fight. But And I never thought that my dad being terminally ill affected me at all, as in fight-wise. It affected me before, but as in fight-wise. So, but when I watched the fight back and the walkout back and stuff like that, and how I felt warming up and things like that, I was probably a little bit more riled up than I usually am. Like I say, I'm usually quite relaxed and happy, but as soon as my music come on, I was running out, I was slapping people's hands, I was gaining the cage probably a little bit too quick compared to how I usually do it. So I was definitely more anxious and riled up and for that fight. And then as soon as we got in the cage, and I never took my eyes off him, which I never do. And then once we touched, well, we didn't touch gloves, sorry, because he's always he's need people on the glove touch in the past.
Oh, really?
Scissor need him, yeah. So I didn't touch his gloves. But yeah, I probably did rush things, but that was just because of my mentality with things. I'm not blaming the loss on obviously what was going on, but I definitely wasn't in the same frame of mind than I've been for my other fights. If I fought that guy 10 times, I win 9.
9 of that, yeah.
There's the only one time I could possibly lose, and that's that way. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like when your emotions are high, you're not thinking straight, and if someone's in a bit of a flow state, when the lock that he put you in, you know, you're probably, if you're, this is from my perspective, if you're aggressively going into things, you're not probably thinking as clear.
No, you're not.
And yeah, it plays an
flow
effect.
state's the one, obviously, and I felt when I've been in that, I wasn't in that then.
Yeah, because I've been times I watch some of your fights, and when you're on the floor grappling with someone, like your maneuvering is just like a bit like a snake. And that's why you kind of want to be in that flow state then of, you know, I know, okay, this is he slipped this now, okay, I can move this.
Yeah, you're just flowing, you're one step ahead of him. Yeah, I didn't feel like that then.
And
definitely a different feeling. And it took me a while to even figure that out, do you know what I mean? Like at first it was like, no, it never got to me. I said to everyone, they said, because a lot of people said, you could see you was different. Is it because of your dad? And I said to everyone, nah, it wasn't. I was fine, do you know what I mean? I would say if it was, and then it took me months to just obviously think about it, do you know what I mean? Because I'm a very busy guy. I don't get a chance to sit down and think about things like that. And I did, you know what I mean? And I watched the fight back and things, and I thought, maybe I was.
Did you ever think that it was like your dad's been on your whole journey, it seems, from him being a wrestler to then getting to the stage where, unfortunately, I'm sorry, he passed away.
Yeah.
Was it ever a time you go, I don't know if I want to do this? Was it a part, like we talked about earlier, pleasing someone? Was a part of it making your dad proud too?
Always, yeah. Yeah, he was there throughout all my wrestling career, never missed a fight. You know, he travelled to Texas for me fighting, and Japan he fought. He come with me to Brazil. So he'd been to every fight, even the foreign ones, you know what I mean? So, yeah, he was a massive part of my career. He did all my weight cuts with me in pro side of things when I was in this country, even when I went to Texas and things like that. So he was a big part of my career. He never really understood fighting fully because he was only doing a bit of wrestling. Yeah. He only coached wrestling. But he understood what I wanted and what I wanted to be and stuff. So he was always a big part of my career. And, yeah, when he passed, I kind of said, that's me done. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely done with wrestling. My last match was against Jack. I hung my boots up there because my dad was, you know, the main part of that journey.
Are you saying it's still unfinished business?
Yeah, we're fighting. I did think I was going. When my dad passed, I did think I was gonna finish fighting as well. I thought I was gonna finish everything because it just felt different. Do you know what I mean? It felt different without my dad being around. Even though I've got my coaches and stuff like that, but it just felt different without my dad being around.
I bet, mate. I bet it's when he's a part of your journey the whole way. It's like you said, you're very. Seems like the gym, that your family as well is like a tight knit.
Yeah, it is.
So, and he's the core of it. It can play a massive effect.
Yeah. I mean, because obviously we have the wrestling club and stuff like that. Me and my dad's coached together since I was 16. I started coaching when I was 16. Yeah. So we've coached together since I was 16. Plus he coached me when I was a kid with other coaches, but he coached me when I was a kid as well. So, yeah, I mean, now really I'm coaching within the club. Yeah. The wrestling club, I'm still bringing the kids through because it's the place where I feel closest to my dad, I suppose, and I'm carrying on his legacy of building up the Wigan Elite Wrestling Club. Good man.
It's a lot of gyms in Wigan, isn't it?
For wrestling, yeah. Yeah. And gyms in general, isn't there?
Yeah. And them as well. Flipping heck. Would you say, is Tom Aspinall connected with you guys at all or not?
He was. He's seemed to have set up his own team now in.
Okay.
I think he's in Goulburn somewhere. I don't know what he's doing.
Okay, yeah. One of the guys I know, Jamie Acton. I think he's his strength and conditioning now or something like that.
Yeah, he seems so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well. To be fair, his last fight didn't last long, but Tom's
really good. I still think he'll be champion. Tom, you know, what I mean, he's really fast for an heavyweight. Very fast.
That London card, that wasn't the one you was that? No, you fought on the Leon Edwards card. Is that right? What one did you fight on? No, you fought on the. What was the card? Your most recent fight?
The recent one. Tom just fought.
That was not that one. So I'm on about the one you fought in London. Your most
last
recent.
time I fought was March, so I can't think
who was the main.
Tom was main event.
Was he for that one?
He beat Volkov, the big tall Russian guy.
That's right. Yeah. There's been there's some big names coming through the UK now. It's good to see. To be fair.
Yeah. There's some good talent knocking about in there. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of big names now.
Yeah.
Which is good, isn't it? Good for the sport. Sport's growing all the time, MMA, so in this country especially. Everyone knows about MMA now, UFC and stuff. So
yeah, we feel like we've got the most, like the people, like, you know, you've got you got the Conor McGregors, you've got the Paddies, you've got Darren Tills, now you've got the Toms, you've got yourself, you've got Bisping when he was fighting. Like, they're all entertainers as well, though. You know, like a lot of entertainers that they're not, well, Conor and Paddy and Darren, I'd say probably definitely the most. Like they're extroverted people, aren't they? They were bringing attention, just their personalities.
It could all change when Conor McGregor come on the scene, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was UFC was always big, but I think Conor took it to the next level. I mean, even your nan knows Conor McGregor, I mean, so he's big.
Yeah, but it's you can hate him as much as you want, and like, there's some things that you can't agree on. But he has leveled up MMA,
100%, yeah.
UFC, like that has just gone times 10, or 10x, whatever you want to say. But he's
done a lot for the sport.
Do you see him coming back?
I think he will fight again, but it seems different now. But I mean, it seems different. I've not watched much of the tough, but from some clips that I see and stuff, like, he doesn't seem different. I mean, what he used to say, when he used to say something inspirational kind of thing, he used to carry a lot of weight. Just doesn't seem to have that effect no more.
Nah, it's hard because I think so many people have seen that journey. You can kind of see, like, obviously money and fame has played a part in this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like seeing someone's superhero essentially turning down to the dark side a little bit. Where, if you're looking that path, because, I think everyone would love to see him come back.
I think, you're going to still get everyone watching it, yeah. Conor McGregor fights again, everyone's going to watch. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to ask you. I had it on my mind earlier. I was waiting for the time to ask you. So, obviously, Khabib, you got that, Makachev. Who's the other guy? Is it Makachev?
Makachev, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, their background's wrestling.
Yeah.
But there's a different type of wrestling, right?
I think they more come from a Sambo background.
Sambo.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's loads of types. And your background wrestling, right? I always think, okay, what would a wrestler do in that situation when he fights? Because if you're a stand-up guy, you might obviously want to throw hands, but you obviously got one eye on him.
Yeah, you're worried about the takedown.
And then the lactic acid they build from just grinding, essentially, lactic acid in the arms. You get back up, your arms are like lead. So then, I'm trying to think, has he had an actual wrestler in the UFC fight him?
Khabib?
Yeah, when Khabib was in there.
Don't think he has, I mean, Gaethje knows of it, but he doesn't attack, does he?
Gaethje went.
He just defends, uses his wrestling for his defense. But no, I can't think of anyone who he's gone against who is a straight up wrestler, which could have been different. If someone put Khabib on the back, it could be different.
Do you ever think about that? If you were in those positions when you watched those fights when he was obviously still fighting, or even Makachev, for instance, would you go, what I would do in this situation? As you're watching it on the TV. Yeah,
I mean, obviously I'm a fan of the sport as well. Do you know what I mean? So you always think, but obviously I have the opportunity to say, oh well, what would I do in that spot, in that position? You know what I mean? I think I've done enough to make sure I can say that. But
yeah, definitely.
If I fought Khabib, then I'd be looking at taking him down. Still, but
playing
obviously I'm a wrestler, aren't I?
Yeah.
But play him at his own game. Who breaks first, innit?
Yeah, definitely. Because I like, again, coming from a novice background, just a spectator, but he tends to put you up against the cage, pull you down, but he locks his legs. Say, for instance, you're on your ass and back is against the cage. is as if he's got your legs inside his legs and he crosses his legs.
Yeah, he's very good at it. You know what I mean? He's obviously got a very tight knee clamp. You know, he tightens up with his knees and stuff like that, and his ground and pound's great. But yeah, his initial first attack isn't great.
No.
Like his single or his double. But it's always to get to the body lock. Once he gets to the body lock, it's a game changer for him. You know what I mean? That's really good. And then once he gets you in the positions. But if you're always like, the bottom guy's always just concentrating on getting up. You know, he doesn't seem too worried about any subs, so he's just locking you up and just again he breaks him. You can see the life come from the face. You know what I mean? Especially Edson Barbosa.
I was about to say that
his head just went. You know what I mean? So he's a master at it, and that's why he's unbeaten, isn't it?
He is. And even that Gaethje fight, you watched him. I felt like Gaethje was nervous throwing the whole fight.
Yeah, but that is what it does when you're a good wrestler.
Yeah,
and you do attack. Like I've been in fights with good strikers, but because they're so scared of my my attack, I've started catching them loads on the feet. My fight against Lando Verata, great striker, probably one of the best in the division, they reckon, and you know, he's got some highlight reel knockouts, spinning wheel kicks and stuff, and knock people out. But because he was worried about my takedown, first of all, he just kind of backed off a lot. And then obviously he never wanted to throw his hands or his kicks
because he was fearful of,
because he was worried about getting took down. So I started catching him with backhands and stuff like that then. But yeah, it definitely changes the mentality of a striker when a wrestler's in front of him.
I think the fight game is just, it goes through phases. Like, you'll get loads of wrestlers becoming champs, and you get like these stand-up fighters, you know, Muay Thai fighters coming through. I think, who would you say the full package, like the full package? I like Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, he's really good, isn't he?
Because his jiu-jitsu's great, but his stand-ups, he's like got a Muay Thai stand-up.
Good now, yeah. He's just kind of fearless because he doesn't worry about getting took down too much because he's so good on the ground, off his backhand on top. So he's just kind of going forward, throwing shots. A lot of volume in it, and he kind of seems to tire him, you know, because of that pressure. But once they start trying to take him down, then they're kind of in his world again.
100%.
So I think he's a great fighter, yeah. Charles Oliveira is very good. Could be a different fight when he fights Makhachev next again as well. He's going to fight him again. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's the next.
But Makhachev, what he did to him last time, made it look easy, so...
Yeah, it's interesting, So did you watch you probably as a diehard, you probably didn't, but did you see the Nate Diaz boxing match with that Jake Paul?
Watch it, no.
I think it puts UFC fighting in degrades it. Yeah.
It's not great. Like, I don't really... I mean, I know they're making a lot of money and stuff. They've got to be making a lot of money, and you've got to take the money sometimes, you know what I mean? Especially on your way out. Yeah. But it does do me head in a little bit. Yeah, of course. You've done all this years of fighting. Nate's a legend in the sport, you know what I mean? He's fucking losing to Jake Paul. Exactly. But then it gives Jake Paul credit, but then I don't get this thing he does, what he does, like he just walks on, he walks around the ring, turns around, and he chills for a bit, Nate does, and then he... but is that mind games, or is that just him, he wants a breather? It is. No, it is mind games. It don't really... He's very fit in it, you know what I mean? You can see that in all his fights, but probably just more mind games and a bit of showmanship in it, you know what I mean? That's the way he's always been. You know, look what he did to Leon Edwards at the end of the round, caught him with 1-2 and pointed at him, he could have finished him. That's what I was thinking, and then the commentators were saying something like, you know, he knew he didn't want to jump in there and just in case he got whacked, and I was like, but the time you had left in that round, you're probably better off doing that than nothing, you know what I mean? Yeah, you just got to go, ain't you? Well, how good is Leon Edwards as well now? Like, I think he's class. Done great for UK, ain't he? You know what I mean? Do you go down there? Do you ever go and like connect with these gyms at all, or? No, I've never been to his gym. I mean, he's been to ours, to be honest. Cool. I know he did some pads with my coach, Colin. And Colin, my coach, said he was really good, you know. He couldn't really get him out of his rhythm, you know. So he's got really good distance control, Leon Edwards. So like he tried to rush him sometimes, but he'd never throw a shot when he wasn't like his feet were set, you know. So he's quite disciplined in that. And dealing with high level wrestlers like Usman, for someone like Leon Edwards, where there's non-existent wrestling in this country, he's clearly, you know, studying the sport and thinking of different things as how we can without actually having a full wrestling, you know, pedigree. So you got to respect him for that. And I think he's got some great game plans against people like Usman. He took him down. Wasn't he first to take him down? He did take him down, yeah. Officially someone take him down. That's impressive. Yeah. I think I like the fact about it is that didn't he go over to the States to change gyms for a bit? I think he went to Khabib gym. What's it called now? Top Team? Is it? No, it's not Top Team. I can't remember the name. Don't know.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Khabib's, you
Yeah,
remember?
yeah. And then he come back, and he's gone back to his original team. And I kind of respect that, because
Got it, yeah.
when times are going tough, instead of blaming your team, it's a bit of accountability on yourself.
That's what tends to happen, though, innit? Do you know what I mean? Someone loses so much, they blame the team, or they blame the fact that they're cutting too much weight, so they're going to go up, and then. But
Yeah.
you got to look at yourself first. That's the first person you got to look at.
You go to bed at night, and it's just you alone with your thoughts. You know the answer deep down. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Are you eating good? Are you training hard enough? You got to just look at yourself first.
That's it. For you moving forward now, Mike, you've got the gyms. You've just started this online coaching, mentoring program.
Yep.
Explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we just kind of launched this the other day. So what it is, I've not really seen many people doing it this way, but obviously we've got an online video library. So one of my mates who's got the video camera and stuff, and he does all that type of stuff, editing, Brad. So he's come on board as well, and he's doing it. So we've done like 50, 60 techniques for now, but a new one's going to be added every 2 weeks. Sure. Just techniques, basically. All the basic techniques for wrestling, the basic warm-up drills for wrestling. So it's quite basic at the minute. And then, techniques that's going to help jiu-jitsu players, going to help MMA fighters. Because obviously there is a difference in the sport. Just straight wrestling, you can't leave your neck out there because you're going to get guillotined. So there's a lot of stuff in there for jiu-jitsu players, really. So if they sign up to that, they get all that. And then also they've got they get added into a private WhatsApp group where me and Jack will support them weekly. So, even any nutrition advice or strength advice we'll help them out with. But mainly what it is if they're in training, or if they've got a mat between them and the mate kind of thing, if they send us a little video in where they're struggling with something, struggling to finish an attack, for example. Most common thing is getting the confidence into finishing an attack. We'll kind of break it down and we'll reply to them and tell them what they need to do. So it's a bit more one-to-one type stuff.
I like that.
We're going to see how it works. I'm pretty sure it'll work well,
Yeah.
A lot of people think you can't coach wrestling over online stuff, but if I'm explaining to you, keep your head up and your back straight, you tie your hands behind the knees for a double legs, you're going to understand it. You're going to start doing it more in training. They can come back to us and say that didn't work or that did work. And that's what we're starting off with, really. And then we're going to have another one where it's a bit more in depth and personalised, where you have a video call with them. I can only take 10 or 20 people on for this because it's a lot more time and effort. And like I say, it's going to work out well. I think we're excited for it. Yeah, man,
I'm excited for you guys, and I like the fact that you've got a very growth mindset. Like, it's not like, okay, fighting's coming to an end now. What do I do now? But you've got the gym, you've got this going on now. You've got probably fingers in many other pies, but it's like it's a good way to live.
Yeah, well, one thing with wrestling, my goal. Through growing up with wrestling, one of my goals was always to help build wrestling up in this country. So whether I do it by, fighting on the TV in the UFC, and people think, well, I want to try wrestling now because Mike Grundy's done this. Do you know what I mean? So that's one of my goals, to help build up wrestling. So I've got a lot of knowledge. I've got 30 years of wrestling experience, and all my family's done it. Do you know what I mean? So that's all we've ever done. We've got our own club in Wigan. Full time, I'm just coaching wrestling. Do you know what I mean? I'm coaching wrestling 5 times a week. 2 times a day sometimes.
Amazing.
So it's like non-stop. So I've always wanted to build up wrestling, and this online thing, I can get to the outside world and spread my knowledge, and to be a brown belt in jiu-jitsu and to be in the UFC, there's just not many people got them credentials and link it all together. So like, for example, a straight wrestling coach, I don't really think can fully help a guy who's doing jiu-jitsu and wanting wrestling for jiu-jitsu type thing, because your leg attack's got to change. So I think, I'm in a good, fortunate position where I've got them credentials, and I can pass on my knowledge and help them people out, really.
It's amazing, man. It's exciting. And like you said, you've got so many strings to other bows, and you're not just pigeonholed in one area. No. It's exciting where this can go.
Yeah, it could go far.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah,
mate,
I'm looking forward to it.
I am. I'm good. I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad to see where it's going to go. Imagine the next year or two. And while you got Jack coming through the ranks as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Mate, we'll wrap it up, but one thing I always ask my guests before we do is just, what are you grateful for?
Very grateful for my family, really, I suppose. My family, because the amount of support I've had from my family is unreal. You know what I mean? From my dad to my even my kids, and from my wife and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of support.
I love that, man. I'm grateful for you coming here today, sharing your story, sharing your journey, and it's just the start. It's just the start where it can go next. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on.
Cheers.
Don't just talk it, walk it.